All right, you made it to part 2 of Blackbird, which should be your favorite part because this is the part where the Blackbird takes flight. So anyways, we really just have one more part to learn and 2 fills, and that's essentially the entire song. So at the end, I'm going to go through the whole thing together. And if you haven't watched part 1, none of this is going to make any sense to you, so I highly suggest you do that. But anyways, part 2 is going to sound like this. Okay, so we're going to use the same system as far as a root note and a shape to do this, okay? And we're going to start by going on 8A, and we're going to make this that kind of major shape where we have the 2 fret spacing. So we have 8, shape 2, and we're going to get A and B at the same time to G. Then we're going to go to 7-1, to 5-1, to 3-2, 1-2 pattern, to 3-2 pattern. So again, 8, 2, 7, 1, 5, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2 pattern, 3, 2 pattern. And the second half of this part is the exact same thing with one change. 8, 2, 7, 1, 5, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2 pattern, open 2 pattern, D, 1, G, right? So the last part of this is just like the end of part 1, except the very, very back end, right? So we have 1, 2 pattern, open 2 pattern. We switch to the D root to G, right? So we have parts 1 and parts 2, and now we're going to have 2 fills. And the first fill actually comes between the first 2 parts. Again, I'm going to organize the whole thing at the end, but if we just memorize the first fill as being really similar to the end of one of the parts, it's going to sound like this. Okay, so all it is 3, 2, 2, 1, open 2 pattern, the D pattern again, where it's D1, open 1, I guess, with the D string root, back to G. And what I'm doing with the G here is I'm really just holding down 3E, and I'm just kind of doing the same pattern there for 1 bar, okay? So again, the fill is going to be fill 1. Okay, and then the only other fill we're going to have is going to sound like this. Okay, and that's going to be the very intro of the song, the G to open 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 2. In the intro, that's where we go down to here. But really, so this second fill is 3, 2, and then backwards, open 2, into the intro again, right? So one more time on the second fill. We have the G, open 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, open 2, D pattern, back to the intro. Okay, and really the only thing you have to remember is part 1, there is like an intro, the beginning of part 1, which is that part right there is the intro, which means it starts again. It refreshes itself to go through the entire part 1. So it's almost kind of like a tease part 1 or whatever. And then the only other thing you have to remember for the structure of the song is in the version on the White Album, there's like this thing where birds start chirping, which is kind of weird, and I pretend it doesn't exist. But anyways, that's just the intro. They kind of get stuck on this thing as the birds start chirping in and it slows down. And then fill 2 comes in. All right, so basically we're going to organize the whole thing, okay? And the structure goes, you have the intro, you have part 1, fill 1, part 1, part 2, part 1, part 2, the intro again with the birds, fill number 2, part 1, and the outro, which is just a few times around on fill 2, okay? So I've got a sheet that kind of like has all this laid out. Again, the best way to do this is just play along with the song. These parts are distinct enough that you can probably tell the difference between them just by listening to them, kind of knowing which one to get into. But I'm going to play the whole thing right now. If you want to play along with this, this is kind of like a good way to do it too. So the intro. to part 1. To the fill, back to the first part again. Into part 2. The second part of part 2. Into part 1. Then part 2 again. And then we have the intro again, but the one with the birds, right? I just kind of slow that down. And then into the second fill. And then part 1 again. And then fill 1 again. And then maybe slow it down a little bit on the last one. And then you can end it on a G chord. And there you have it.